So thank you so much for joining. It's lovely to see each and every one of you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Yes, as we start us off, we are so grateful to have you join us, and I'll request us to just write our names and the organization and which part of the world you're joining us from in the chat. This will be lovely just to know you, and also to get to put a name to an organization as well. So if you can just change the name settings in terms of your name on Zoom and just adjust it to your organization, like you can see in mine. So write your name and the organization, and then in the chat, let us know your name and which part of the world you're joining us from. It will be lovely to know more about you. So if everyone can do that, that will be lovely as you get the chat function working. Then during this session, feel free to raise your hand, use the reaction function, as well as just if you need to speak, just let us know and we'll be able to respond to any questions during this session as Room to Read and Kenya Connect share with us more about the organizations. And I'll just start us off by sharing more about what it is in store for us for the next 1.5 hours. So to start us off, I'll give a brief introduction to who we are as GSF. For those who may not be GSF members, I'll then introduce Kenya Connect and Room to Read, who are hosting the session today. Kenya Connect and Room to Read will then have an opportunity to delve deep into their literacy work, sharing with us the challenges they're solving in their context and the unique solutions they're offering towards improving literacy. We'll then have a Q&A session where you'll have an opportunity to ask any question regarding their work or any collaborative opportunity you may see within the organizations. And then we'll have a wonderful interactive session, just delving deeper into what collective action looks like when it comes to literacy and the different roles that we have in this context. So like I said, we can start off, and I'd just like to know, as we celebrate literacy and the role of literacy, what book are you currently reading? As you put your name and organization in the chat, also add what the book that you're reading at the moment. For me, it's The Everyday Hero Manifesto by Robin Sharma. And it's just a guide towards just knowing how to, live a heroic life every day in just the small steps and actions. Alongside that, so it will be lovely to know the kind of book or the book that you're reading, whether it's your book also or your child's book as well. So maybe your book is the book you're reading to your child every night. So share that with us. It will be lovely to know more about that. And then just to get into who we are as GSF. So we regard ourselves as a collaborative builder, innovation accelerator, and partnership builder for non-state organizations in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And our role is just to improve education at scale for undeserved children in low and middle income countries. And our vision is that all children, regardless of where they're from, can actually realize their potential through safe access to quality education, and the organizations within the community actually work towards that. And what does this look like within the community? So like I said, we are a network and a community of 177 organizations in 70 countries across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And in terms of impact or where our organizations are reaching, we are currently reaching 135 million children and about 1.38 million schools in the 3 regions that we are working in. And Room to Read and Kenya Connect are the two organizations, among the two organizations that are within our community. And today we're looking forward to just getting more about them, to know more about their work generally, but more so within the literacy space. Who are they? What do they do? And what are some of the ways that we can actually work alongside them? And I'll start off by sharing more about Kenya Connect. So Kenya Connect is based in Wamunyu in Kenya. So it's the eastern side of Kenya, and they work in Machakos and Kitui counties, serving over 18,000 students and 500 teachers. And what do? They provide enrichment and educational programs, including literacy and numeracy, teacher professional development, innovative classroom management solutions, digital literacy, coding, robotics, and life skills programs. And within the literacy pillar, they have in-house and remote libraries, lit clubs and lit mom programs, radio read aloud sessions, Saturday story time, and the annual reading challenge. And I'll not go deeper into this because Esther will be doing a wonderful job just sharing with us what Kenya Connects does, and just going deeper into what some of these programs look like. So Esther is the literacy coordinator and librarian at Kenya Connect. She is very much passionate about reading in Wamunyu, and she oversees and manages the library. Like I said, they have an in-house library, but they also have remote libraries within the public schools that they work with. So she coordinates the community library of over 56,000 books and works closely with teachers, parents, and the community at large. And as a result of Esther's work, Kenya Connect was recognized by 100 as a global education innovation in 2024. She's a graduate of University of Nairobi and was a runner-up for the 40 Under 40 Africa Award 2023 for education. Congratulations, Esther. She believes in always doing her best and serving humanity. She's a powerful force and a strong literacy champion. It will be lovely to know more about you, Esther, and more about what Kenya Connect does. And the second organization is Room to Read. Room to Read operates in 25 countries across Africa, Asia, and Europe, focusing on children from ECE to grade level. They run two main programs. So they have the early grade literacy programs that looks at promoting literacy through training and coaching of teachers, supporting the reading and writing of quality books and libraries in schools. And within the books, it's normally interesting just to see how much they incorporate mother tongue language within the books that they publish. And Titus, it will be lovely to hear more about that from your presentation. They also have a girls' education program that looks towards providing mentorship and material support in promoting access to education and helping girls build the skills to succeed in school and in life. Room to Read believes the world change starts with educated children, and that is what they're aiming to achieve in the long run. And presenting today, we have Titus Kazungu, who is the Associate Director for Literacy and Program for Africa. And he supports Room to Read's literacy work as a technical lead in Africa, that is in South Africa, Tanzania, Rwanda, Nigeria, Zambia, and Uganda. And mainly his work includes teaching and learning material development in African languages. He's very passionate about the African languages and mother tongue language for that matter. Teacher support designs, literacy instruction and learner assessments, library development and management and advocacy work. He holds Bachelor of Education and Masters of Arts from Kenyatta University and St. Paul's University, respectively. So I'm honored today to actually welcome Esther to start us off in terms of presenting on what Kenya Connect is all about and who they are, and hope that we can interact more with these organizations as they share more with us. So welcome, Esther.
Okay, thank you, Mercy. I'm Esther Muinde, working as the librarian and the literacy coordinator at Kenya Connect. Kenya Connect is an NGO based in Wamunyu, Mwala, Machakos in Kenya, and started back in the year 2002 as a pen pal program with the idea of connecting kids in the world through pen pal and nurturing cultural exchange. And today, Kenya Connect has grown. It works to provide students with options in 71 partner public schools in Machakos and Kitui County. Our vision is an empowered rural community that learns, grows, and thrives together. And our mission is to ensure rural children live education with options by developing the skills, values, and pathways to thrive. In short, we say providing kids with option. And how do we do it to make sure that we achieve our mission? Kenya Connect works in 6 interconnected areas where we have in-school foundation, the quality education, literacy, technology, empowerment, and pathways. We are going now to talk more on the literacy foundation, whereby we have a goal of ensuring children finish school when they are able to read, write, and communicate. And we believe we believe that reading is a foundation that brings success across all curricular areas. And if a person can read, write, and communicate, they have the confidence to face the world, and books change lives. So we can now see some of the initiatives that we work in literacy to ensure that kids can read, write, and also communicate. We have a library system whereby community members and kids register and become members of a library and they can access books. We have mobile libraries. We have Saturday story time. We have reading challenge, radio read aloud, and lit moms and lit clubs. I will be talking more on the programs. Uh, Kenya Connect works with 71 partner public schools, and these schools are not close by the Kenya Connect campus. They are like 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, even 15 kilometers from the center. And how do we reach our kids and our partners, the teachers? We do a mobile library whereby we load books in cartons and we use our bus and we go to the schools, and our library is online. Our books are cataloged, and also the cards are logged in and are connected with the library system that we use. We use the library ward system. So when we get to the schools, we also have display tables. We station a library station. We place the books on the tables according to grades. We have a section for the lower primary, a section for the middle school, and a section for the junior secondary. And we set the checkout station whereby we have computers and we have a movable Wi-Fi, and we connect with the system that works in our library, and we are able to check out the books efficiently. The kids check out books, and we go back to another school. For a day, we serve like 3 or even 4 schools, making us able to reach many children. And schools report that kids that have library cards, they are improving in their literacy and also in their writing skills. In order to also make sure that kids read, Kenya Connect has partnered with Lit World, whereby we provide a lit after school enrichment program that are gender exclusive, girls clubs alone, and also boys clubs. And in these meeting sections, we shall also do a read aloud in order to encourage our kids to read and also keep the fire burning of reading. And when kids get in the lit clubs, for a start, they are shy, but at the end of the 2 years, the kids have gained the confidence, they have the voice, and they are also elected as leaders in the schools. And not to forget our moms. Moms are central and very powerful in education. We also do a version of Lit Club that is Lit Moms, that is only for Lit Moms with the Lit World. And we meet every Friday, and we also do a read aloud. The moms love hearing stories, and these stories form a connection between the moms and their kids when they come and we read a book aloud. And when they go back home, they have a story. They are explaining, sharing with their kids the story they learned today. And now the kids come up to the library and they are like, my mom shared this story, they read this book, and I want to borrow the book and read. And it forms a basis of reading and also sharing stories. And apart from the building their literacy skills, we also do skill building with the lit moms, whereby they do sewing, knitting, and also they are keeping bees in order for them also to earn a living and also support their kids in school. During the COVID times, schools were closed in Kenya for a period of 9 months, and we could not reach out to the students that we work with. So Kenya Connect came up with the Radio Read Aloud program that we partnered with a local radio station called Baitu FM, whereby we were hearing a weekly radio read aloud on radio. But currently, we operate when the schools are closed during mid breaks and also during the school breaks. We ensure that kids are reading at home. We usually have a kid that pre-reads the book and we record. We also have our quality education coordinator who makes a lesson of the book, and it's recorded and it's shared with the radio station where it's aired live, and students, teachers, and parents have the opportunity of calling in on the station and also sending in messages about what they are learning. And through that, many people are getting connected with Kenya Connect. They learn about Kenya Connect and they visit our library physical. They just tell us, we had you on here and we've come just to visit the library. We want to become library members. We want to have cards and we want to be borrowing books. And the community is reading through the radio. Saturdays are for reading in Wamunyu. Every Saturdays we have a free Saturday story time. Kids come in the library, they hear a story from our team, and they also engage in art and craft activity. And this makes and provides a safe space for kids to read and learn from a library. And they also get an opportunity to check out books and bring them home to read. So every Saturday, kids are here for a free Saturday story time. During school breaks, we also engage our students. We want to make sure that they are reading, and we do fun book days, whereby we go and engage in fun learning activities with the kids. We do a read aloud with the kids. We do art and craft and puzzles, and we also do audio stories, whereby we have a KioKit with KioKit tablets that we go and share out to the kids, and the kids get to listen to audio stories and also read stories from the tablets, ensuring that the kids are reading while on breaks. Teachers are also central to Kenya Connect, to the work we are doing on literacy, and we usually support them by offering workshops on building the culture of reading and also how they can help strengthen readers to be able to read. And we also we also give teachers tools and the ideas on how they can promote reading at their school. We usually celebrate the World Read Aloud Day every year, and we usually have workshops for teachers whereby they come. We teach them on strategies on how they can celebrate word, and we give them tools and ideas on how they will go back to the school and make sure they celebrate the day with their students. Every year, Kenya Connect has an annual themed reading challenge whereby we challenge our students to read at least 25 books and above for a period of 3 months. And we usually count a book, it's a book that has 25 pages. So if maybe a kid read a book that has 100 pages, we count those as 4 books. This year, the challenge is on. It normally starts in June, July, August, and in September, we collect the reading challenge guides, whereby we go through them. And in the reading challenge guides, we have a book track place whereby the kids write the books they read, the author, and they also write the dates they read. And we also have a slot whereby a parent or a teacher says that the kids read the book. After that, we collect the reading challenge guide. We go through it, and we also go and do interviews with the students. Maybe why did you like this book? What was their favorite book? To ensure that also the kids read the books they're writing on the guide. And after that, we usually have a motivation. But if you read the most book, if you are the boy, you are the king reader of the year. And if you are the girl, you are the queen reader of the year. And we put their name at a plaque at the library, outside the library. And so kids usually are motivated to read and get all these to be crowned as the king and the queen readers of the year. In the previous year, we had a queen reader that had read around 216 books and a king reader that had read around 187 books. Yeah, and this year the theme for the reading challenge is on birds, and we are now collecting the guides going through. And soon we'll be having a king and a queen for this year. And we usually now crown the reading challenge with the Kenya Connect 5K race that happens in October. And this is like a big initiative that we call community members to come and celebrate reading. And we also make them know the importance of reading, make know that we have a library that they can come and read. And we also bring the local businesses that support the event. And we crown the king and the queen reader during this event. And our KC 5K race for this year is happening on 11th of October. And dear viewers, you can join us for the marathon. You can come and read and run. You can also come and walk. And the link for registration is attached at the chat. Yeah, thank you. The impact for our literacy program, we have 10,300 members that are members of our library. They have library cards and they actively come to check out books. We have 51. I said we work with 71 public schools. Out of these 71, 51 already get the library service. Every 2 weeks, the bus rolls in the school. The students, teachers, and also the community members get to borrow books. And we have a collection of over 56,000 books, which we've gotten from local donors and also in partnership with organizations like the Book Aid International and also Books for Africa. And our radio read aloud is being listened to over 400 listeners around Kenya. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for sharing that with us. That was wonderful. And I think we can give it just a few minutes if anyone has any question directed to Kenya Connect in terms of their work generally or their work within the literacy space. I know they've shared a lot of their programs and what they do. So if you have any question related to that, it will be lovely to hear from you, or any feedback or comments around that. Before we move to Room to Read. All right, so if we don't have any initial feedback, I think, Titus, you can take over and share about Room to Read. If we have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and then we'll have a Q&A session after this as well.
Thank you, Mercy. Let me share my screen. Okay, so my name is Titus Kazungu. I work for Room to Read, supporting Room to Read's literacy work in the continent of Africa. Room to Read is a global organization transforming the lives of millions of children in low-income communities. And our main focus is literacy and gender equality in education. Our core belief, as Mercy said, is that world change starts with educated children. At Room to Read, we know that providing children with high quality education is really the recipe that will empower them to be successful in their lives. And that's why we intervene at two critical moments in the child's education. So literacy development in the early grades, or what we call foundational literacy in primary schools, and also transitioning or supporting the transition of girls from upper primary, lower secondary into college through our gender equality program. So it's really important for us, we believe, to really intervene at that level, because we believe that when you do that, you are giving this huge foundation for children to be successful in their lives later. Room to Read, in the last 25 years of our existence, we have benefited over, I think now it should actually be 60 million children, and have worked in 25 countries around the world with the goal of helping young learners unlock their full potential through education. Our work across Southeast Asia, across Africa, has been a testament of what investment in education can bring, the transformation that is needed in building foundational skills and creating equality among boys as well as girls. From that map, you can see all those places with blue are areas that Room to Read has had some kind of work and impact in small ways and in big ways as well. In our current strategic position, we are aiming at accelerating our work across the continent of Africa with the goal of reaching more children more quickly. And our goal is to really continue the work we are doing in countries like South Africa, Tanzania, Nigeria, Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Malawi, but also expand into other countries. The big goal really is to double the number of children that we serve each year, double the number of communities we support each year, and also double the number of partners we work with across our portfolios, that is literacy and gender equality. Partners here being government, because Room to Read works primarily with government, but also with other implementing partners that are working in the same space of literacy and gender equality. In this next slide, I'll just quickly highlight our girls' education program, our gender equality program, and then I'll delve into our literacy work. So in our gender equality program, we use educators and trained professionals who we call social mobilizers, and they are often people who work in the same communities as the girls that we serve. And our aim there is really to deliver research-based life skills curricula, provide personalized mentorship of these girls, and foster supportive environments where girls can practice and develop valuable skills with their peers who are facing similar challenges and opportunities. For our literacy program, which is the focus of this spotlight, Room to Read, as I said, we envision a world that is free from illiteracy and gender inequality, where all children have room to read, they have room to learn, and they have room to grow. And in that way, creating a lasting change and transformation in the communities where they live. And using two models, as shown in our theory of change there, two models of deliver and accelerate. We deliver quality programs directly and with partners. And Room to Read also, we also accelerate learning outcomes for this rallying call of more children more quickly by strengthening government systems, by also working with other learning systems, including non-formal education systems. Our current project in the GSF lab is actually focusing on testing some of our approaches in non-formal setup. And that's really key for us because it's also part of our learning as an organization. And focusing on our core competencies of developing curricula and content, conducting educator trainings and coaching, and providing research and insights, and a variety of other deliverable or delivery structures. So in terms of literacy, what do we do? Number one is that we focus on classroom instruction. So Room to Read has this unique opportunity of supporting children develop skills as well as habit of reading, and then bringing all those together to really create this child who has a love for reading and who is able to really be successful in developing their skills. And in our literacy program, it's a structured pedagogy program whereby we aim at providing children learning materials at the ratio of 1-to-1, supporting teachers with teachers' guides, supporting teachers with teacher training, as well as teacher support and coaching. And then out of all that, being able also to assess and really track children as they continue with their learning process. Our classroom instruction materials are really developed using very high scientific scope and sequence that we develop with experts and linguists within the community where we work. And the aim there is really to ensure that the materials are developed in a way that they're not only taking cognizance to the country's curricula and syllabi, but also they are faithful to the linguistic nature of the communities where we serve. And out of that, we develop materials that can support the 5 components of reading, but also with decodable text, which is really key. Decodable text, for those who are not familiar, are usual texts or stories that are written with only letters that the children have learned. And that way, then you are giving those children a scaffold that helps them to be able to start reading as early as possible. And out of that, also being able to practice their fluency as well as comprehension activities. As I mentioned, we also develop teachers. And for us in Room to Read, we believe that training is critical, but the type of training also matters. Our teachers in the areas we serve do not just need head knowledge, they also need practical skills, and they need to also sometimes change attitudes, because the way they were trained in college might be different from some of the approaches that best practices are showing us. So we aim at ensuring that we give them some theory, but we spend a lot of time modeling to the teacher the specific skills and competences, as well as giving them opportunities for them to practice in small groups, in bigger groups with peers, and giving each other feedback. So in that sense, then making the training a lot more practical than theoretical. We also know that how we teach is critical as much as what we teach. So in terms of our approach, Room to Read, we engage in 2 key pedagogic approaches. One is the direct instruction model, which has been summarized into I do, we do, you do, and a number of you are familiar with that. But also we incorporate what we call turn and talk, which really is an opportunity to grant children opportunities to talk to each other, reflect about different aspects, as well as communicate one towards another. Room to Read is also known as a library organization. We started as a book library organization, and that we believe that libraries are critical component of our literacy programming, because it is libraries that help us to reinforce the foundational literacy skills and engaging students with diverse local language book collections as we create this welcoming environment that is needed to build not just the skill, but the habit of reading. In our library work, we focus on library management, which we train teachers and head teachers and librarians in schools to manage libraries. And we establish these libraries within the school community, as well as creating spaces where children are able to have different diverse activities, including read alouds, shared reading, paired reading, and independent reading. All this with the goal to create the love and the enjoyment of reading. So in all our schools, every week, there is a period where every class is able to have an opportunity to go to the library and experience the joy of reading. I've mentioned this around quality reading materials. It's one of our core work as Room to Read. And every year we partner with book creators, we partner with illustrators from the communities we work, and publishers to develop local language children's books. And it's really amazing how much we've been able to do over the years. Many books. Since 2000, we have been able to publish over 6,000 children's books titles in over 50 languages in the 25 countries where we've worked. And really, it's amazing how we've been able to impact so many children and also distribute so many books across the countries where we work. For example, I'll give an example, a unique one from Tanzania, where we currently are the publisher who has the highest approved children's storybooks in the country, bigger than the business publishers, over 100 books now that are approved by government. In Uganda, within 2 years, we had over 165 titles in Luganda and Runyankore Ruchiga that were distributed to children across different districts. So that shows you the power that we have when we work together with creatives and publishers and government to really ensure that kids have not just books in different formats, but books in different genres and books at different levels. As we celebrate the International Literacy Day, whose focus is really technology and EdTech and all those related things, it is important for us as Room to Read to highlight Room to Read's digital platform called Literacy Cloud. Literacy Cloud is a platform where all the books in the different languages that we have worked in across the world are actually stored and are available to be used, to be read, and to be downloaded. So I've put the website there, literacycloud.org, for you to be able to go there. You can register. When you register, you have more access to other materials as well, including videos for creatives, videos for read alouds, and you can be able to really look through to see the different languages that are there. And for the people in East Africa, there are Kiswahili books there. You will find Luganda, Runyankore Ruchiga as well. And then South Africa, we have also quite a number. I think we have almost, isiZulu should be there now. Sepedi and a few other languages as well are available. It's a good platform to read with children, and I've used it myself personally. So it's not something I'm prescribing that I don't use. I use it with my 12-year-old. He likes especially the STEM-related kind of books, as well as some of the ones around peace and equality. So we are trying in a small way to begin to say, how can we utilize and how can we leverage on the tech space so that we are able to have a lot more people access the materials that we have as an organization. I want to conclude by saying that the education disparities in the African continent continue to really threaten the future of millions of students. Many of us are already part of the choir, so we know that according to the learning poverty data, 9 out of 10 students in Africa are still unable to read simple text by age 10. So we are, as sub-Saharan Africa, still in a really huge challenge because we might be one of the only regions in the world that are not achieving also the gender parity in education. And Room to Read, we are working to really help and change that situation through our literacy program, expanding our literacy program across Africa, and also expanding our gender equality programs to ensure that girls and boys are able to have the room to read, to learn, and grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Titus, for sharing with us about Room to Read and your work, especially within the literacy space and also in gender transformation. And now we're going to go into the Q&A session, and I think we have quite a number of questions already in the chat, so we'll start with those. And then if anyone has any other question, we can then open the forum for you to ask. So there was a question from Ashti regarding Kenya Connect, in terms of how could you share a bit about what success looks like for Kenya Connect and how you measure impact? So anyone within the Kenya Connect team can answer that question, and then we move ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mercy, and thank you, Ashti, for that question. As Kenya Connect is Esther was presenting about our mission, we want children to have options as they live their education so that they can be able to support in the growth of the society. So when we look at all our programs, we are looking at how are we adding value, how are we adding the skills to the students, and making sure when they are leaving school, they are not just leaving school without the necessary skills and also the pathways that they can be able to follow in life, because we know sometimes children can leave school without understanding what they need to do in their future. And then it becomes a little bit difficult for them as they try to figure out what they need to do in their life. So in terms of success is like, are these children getting the relevant skills? Are they getting the relevant values that they can help them to bring back to the society, the community as a whole as they grow? And in every programs, we are measuring, we are doing evaluations to see like how we meeting our mission in terms of what are we giving to the students. And definitely, as we say that the teacher is very important when it comes to passing these skills. And that's why as Kenya Connect, we really work closely with the teachers, making sure that they have the necessary skills. And we also look at what they lacking and what else can we support them to make sure that they give the student the best. Yeah.
And I'll just add to what Patrick said. For some of our programs like the Lit Clubs, we do a pre-survey before they start the Lit Club program and a post-survey. And within that survey, we've embedded the Rosenberg scale that measures social emotional skills, because part of that program is like, are we developing students that have confidence? So we're looking at that. But also with some of our programs like Lit Clubs and even the library program, we're asking teachers, are you seeing a difference in reading levels, in vocabulary with children who are borrowing books versus those that aren't? Or in Lit Clubs, because that's an intensive after-school program, teachers are reporting to us that the children that are part of the Lit Club program are higher achieving in school, that their grades have improved, and even in some cases they've moved up in reading levels, but they're also showing leadership in asking questions in the classroom, which isn't always typical in a rural Kenya classroom. So we're looking at different measures, both in terms of survey and doing quantitative kind of data, but also looking at those qualitative kind of stories.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting to hear actually that it's not about the educational outcomes only, like in terms of the literacy, but the fact that you're going into social emotional learning as well. So that was quite impressive to hear from you. Thank you for clarifying on that. Then the other questions, there was Omunga, who works for Mala Education. He was asking, do you offer your service in the camp as well? And in this case, I think it should be in the refugee camps. And your services also available for high school diploma. And I think this question is both for Kenya Connect and Room to Read. So are your services or the support that you're giving to these organizations or to the schools that you're working with also available for high schools? And I think Kenya Connect works very particularly with secondary schools. So maybe you can start off with that, responding to that, and then Room to Read can respond next.
So I can take that. In addition to the primary schools we're working with, our library program is also available to secondary school students. And we have students that joined our library programs when they were in primary school, went on to secondary school, and are now in university and are still accessing books at the library. The mobile library that Esther mentioned also serves the secondary schools. Yes, so they are also part of our library programs. At the moment, we are in Machakos and Kitui counties and looking for ways to expand and scale our programs to other areas and to schools that we haven't reached yet within our cluster of schools. Esther mentioned we have 71 schools in our programs, and so far we've only been able to reach 51 of those. So we are working to ensure that we can all get all the schools in our partnerships in our library program as we look to see how we can extend those programs elsewhere.
Thank you for that good question. I just wanted to add on the issue of metrics, like how do we know that we are impactful? In Room to Read, we also measure using different assessment tools, and our measurements is both in terms of student tracking, which is a formative approach to measuring children and looking at their progress over time in the year, so that it informs instruction. But also we do the IGRA type of assessments as well, which helps us to see impact, as well as giving us information on what's happening with regard to outcomes. But to say we go beyond the oral reading fluency kind of data to also begin to look at other aspects, because for us, love for reading is a critical thing. And so we look at issues of our children enjoying. And now we've developed some metrics for testing the habit of reading. We also usually have the metrics for checkout as well, how many children are checking out books. And all those are things that we look at. On the question of whether we support high school, yes, for our gender equality program, we support high schools, girls mainly, but there's a plan also to begin to work with boys as well. And then for our literacy program, we focus primarily in primary school, the instruction program focusing on grade 1, and in South Africa, we're also focusing on grade 3. And then for our library, it focuses on the whole school-wide system. In Africa, we still don't have work in refugee camps, but we have tried this among some of the refugees in the Middle East, and we have developed materials and distributed books in many refugee camps across where people are displaced in the Middle East. And hopefully, maybe with time and funds allowing and opportunities coming, we might one day support work in the refugee camps.
Thank you so much for that clarification. And yeah, it will be lovely to see potential collaboration between the organizations and actually organizations working within the refugee camps, because I think the needs for literacy cut across. So it will be great to see a collaboration around that as well. And then Brenda had a question, which I think, Sharon, you can still respond orally. I know you've put it in the chat. How do you ensure that children who are struggling are supported? Do you source for your books locally, and how many counties are you implementing the program in? You've mentioned, Sharon, that you're working with Dyslexia Organization Kenya, who are one of the GSF members. So it will be lovely to also hear more about how you're working together on that.
Patrick or Esther, do you want to share a little bit about the workshops we've done with them?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. We understand that we found out many of our children were struggling in terms of reading. And personally, when I was doing a class of technology, I came across 2 students in one of the classes that could not read. And this was like in also many other schools, as we went around looking at how students were learning. And we partnered with Dyslexia Kenya to support teachers in terms of training them on differentiated learning. And we did 3 workshops with them, with specific teachers that did the follow-ups. And teachers learned how to work with students who are delaying in terms of reading, to support them so that they can be able to achieve their reading as they grew in learning. So we work closely with the partners that can support in terms of any areas that we see challenges with our teachers and also with our students. Maybe Sharon, you can add more.
I think you covered it. I mean, what we have found is that when we don't have the expertise on our staff to be teaching about dyslexia, so we bring in partners, and that's been really effective. And they do follow up with our teachers, and we're hoping that we get funding to bring them back again in 2026 to do more work along with reading and some other partners to help us.
Thank you both for sharing. And it's good to see that you're actually going beyond, like students in a normal classroom, but actually supporting children who are struggling when it comes to reading, and particularly those with dyslexia. I'll be happy to know so much about that because we have a learning differences coping project that's going on within GSF. So it will be lovely to hear so much about what you're doing in that work. Titus, I don't know if you have any comments around that as well in terms of Room to Read and its aspect when it comes to learning differences and literacy support to such children before we go into the interactive session.
Yeah, thanks. So I had mentioned previously that one of our approaches in supporting children who are struggling with reading is where we are able to do assessment, which informs our instruction. So these are assessments, like in South Africa, we do them twice, one in the first term and I think one in the second or third term, where we check children, and then based on what we get from those results, we are able to work with the teachers and parents on how to support them. That could mean either an extra lesson early in the morning before school starts, or immediately after they are done, or during some of the breaks, so that we are able to do remediation with the teachers. But it's remediation that is really targeted on the specific skills that are lacking for those children. For some might be struggling at maybe story level, or sentence level, or word level, or syllable level. And out of that, we're able to give that kind of remediation as an extra piece of the program. So that kind of informed assessment, assessment-informed instruction is what we do from a Room to Read perspective. But the storytelling and the reading together and the leveling of books also is a way to really support, so that there's no child who goes to a Room to Read library and misses something to read. From stories which have one word to stories that have 3 words, and they build with time to where they are reaching maybe level 6, which is almost like a chapter book or an illustrated chapter book. So we also provide all those opportunities to ensure that our children are having something that either they can read themselves or be supported to read, in addition to the classroom instruction and the assessments we do.
Thank you. I don't know if we have any question before we go into an interactive session.
I had seen a hand up, but it went down.
Okay. I don't know, maybe I can give it a minute before moving ahead. Are we closing out on anyone? Yes, Brenda.
Thank you. I just had a few questions, and probably some of them were mentioned when Esther started her presentation. My first question is really on sustainability of both programs. So what Room to Read is doing, and also what Kenya Connect is doing. So first, really, really impressive initiatives that both of you are running. But then I think for me, sustainability kept on coming up. So it would be good to just understand what does sustainability look like for both your programs. And then the other thing is, every time we think about textbooks or storybooks, just ensuring that they're books, the cost element normally comes up a lot. So the cost of buying books, the cost of maintaining these books is really, really high. So it would be good to just again mention in terms of cost effectiveness or operational efficiencies, how do you handle that? And then, so again, touching on sustainability is how are you working with the governments to just ensure that these programs thrive beyond our different investments? One of the challenges that we keep on getting as SAFE is we need to work ourselves out of our jobs. So really ensuring that we are addressing sustainability at every single step of designing any investment. So I really, really want to hear what does sustainability look like, but then also within sustainability, how are you working with the governments to just ensure that what you're doing stays within the school? I like the fact that you're working closely with some of the teachers to just ensure that what you can't cover, they are able to handle, because these are teachers that are already being paid by the government. But yeah, so if you could just talk a little bit about that. And if time allows, again, where do we see technology in our work? We keep on getting lots of challenges on technology in education. And in Africa, there's a lot of pushbacks, and a lot of it is really because of the risks surrounding technology, but then also the cost of some of these technology initiatives. So what's the space or what's the place of technology in your different interventions? Thank you.
Mercy, do I go first?
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Brenda, for those insightful questions. The technology one it's interesting because it was coming up in the next slide, but I think Titus, you can start off with answering the other questions.
Okay, I will try and respond. Sustainability question is always a difficult one because people look at it from really different ways. So Room to Read is an organization that works with government and for government, first and foremost. Now we are moving also into non-formal, informal systems, but primarily we've always worked with government and communities. And one of our key aspects of our work is family and community engagement. So in many places, when we go, the first thing we discuss with the community is their contribution to the project. In the past, I think my Tanzania colleagues, some are here, including our country director, Joanne, could correct me, but in our initial work, especially around Bagamoyo and also in Morogoro, it was around 30% contribution by the community. We didn't want it to be seen that these libraries we are building or these classrooms we are building are actual Room to Read classrooms, but that they are owned by the community. And 30% would be coming from the community, either in terms of materials, in terms of labor, in terms of different ways. So that was one way in which we tried to establish sustainability. In urban centers like in Dar es Salaam and also Pwani in Tanzania, the local authority, the local government has actually been contributing to the libraries and the construction and all that. So that's one way in which we try to establish sustainability. So there is ownership from the beginning, and that way you are able to continue to sustain. But another way is at system level strengthening, where we directly work with government. In Uganda, in South Africa, we are working with government with regard to coaching. So instead of having our own coaches, we are having government officers who become the coaches. We train them, pass on that knowledge, and they become the ones who coach the teachers. So that's one way of system strengthening, but also establishing scalability and sustainability. Tanzania is an interesting example in terms of really system level integration. In the past 2 years, we've worked with the government in their curriculum review process, and we've supported them at the curricular level, at the development of syllabus frameworks, up to the development of the learner books in Kiswahili for grade 1 and 2. And right now, in all the new schools we are in Room to Read, apart from the GSF project, we are actually using the government books because Room to Read's approach and best practice were fully incorporated into those government books. And so we we don't see the need anymore of putting room to read books into government schools, because the books are at the standard, at least 80% of the standard that we would say this is a good book for teaching reading and writing. So those are some of the things we are really trying, because when you're able to go to that level of government system integration, then you are sure this will be sustainable for some time, as long as there is political goodwill in maintaining these best practices. You are sure of that continuing. We are trying to do the same, working very close with government in Uganda as well, in the 3 languages which we are working, and hopefully that can create sustainability. Book cost is still high, but we still feel that not giving books to children is still more expensive, if you get what I'm saying. So it's a worth expenditure, because ultimately the gains are more than when you don't have. The thing we are struggling with now is how can we help government be able to do these things at a more cost-effective way, because government has the bigger numbers. And in terms of books, the more books you print, the cheaper they become. So if they're able to own, then it becomes cheaper to print, and maybe we can be able to reduce the cost per child that we are dealing with. Tech issues are interesting. We still don't have lots of evidence. We know there are lots of people trying different things, but we are still looking for evidence in terms of, is it technology in the hands of a child? Can government afford that? Or is it technology in the hands of a teacher? Or is it technology in the hands of middle-tier education officers? And I think with support from people like you and others, I think we could be able to do experimentation. And we're already beginning to think around partnering with others to experiment about technology as an additive or technology as the core. And hopefully with time, we'll get there.
Great, that's a great question in terms of sustainability and also technology. I would start by saying that our programs are so made to make sure that parents, teachers, the whole community are involved. If I talk, for example, about the library program, we make sure that the parents own the program by paying for the library card so that their children can be able to access. And again, we also look at the teachers. As a staff, we may not be able to reach the over 18,000 students that are in our programs. But when we work with the teachers, we know that giving them the right skills and they are able to pass all this information to the students, and that brings out the sustainability model. We also work closely with the local government, the Ministry of Education at the county level, the Ministry of, that is the Teacher Service Commission, to make sure that whatever we are doing, we are not doing it in silo. We are working together with the government so that they can see the value that the teachers and also the children are getting. And this helps in terms of making sure that we are in line also with the government policies on education, and making sure that it's closely, we are closely linking together with them. If I talk about in terms of how sometimes we fund the library programs to take the books, we have the 5-kilometer running to read program that brings in local businesses. And that's a way of training the local community that this is their program, and it's a program that they can continue supporting within the community. And I want to mention a little bit about technology. And as Kazungu mentioned, yes, technology, sometimes like the devices are quite expensive for the rural areas that we work with. And as he said, there's no way that we can get away from technology, because it's like the one that is supporting or improving all the learning sometimes that we are doing. Sometimes you see, we get to see that technology is like a limit to the rural schools. But as Kenya Connect, we are currently piloting tablets in the classroom program with the Loho Learning, and this is publisher that is developing content that is online, and the students are able to access books online, and they are able, the teachers can be able to teach even the curriculum content online. And also not actually, that is using technology, not just online, but using technology. So they download the books in the tablets and they are able to use the books in a technology form. I am quite an enthusiast of environment, and I know at a time we will be getting to see that the physical books, although they are very good, we need then to take care of the environment. And I want to agree with Kazungu that sometimes the physical book is not the same as what you are reading online or what you are reading using a device. But as I know, as we change, technology will be will be more important when it comes to supporting education. Maybe, I don't know that Sharon can add something on that.
I'm just going to add on with the physical books that we have. You know, one of the things that I always find interesting when I visit Kenya and our team on the ground is when you go to our library, we don't have pristine books. Our books are really used, which means that children are reading. And our program, we designed that children can take the books home. And what we hear is that children are reading to their younger siblings, or they're reading to their mother during chore time, you know, which means that there's communication going on with the family, you know, and that's an incredible thing, you know, through having a book in your hand, you know, you can move it around and read. And so we have found, you know, the physical books are still really important. At some point, the books, you know, we repair them, they finally fall apart, and then we use them for projects. You know, so the book does have a further life, but we have found that that's really powerful. One of the things with our library card program is that parents have to pay 100 Kenyan shillings to be part of the library program. And it's 100 Kenyan shillings for life. It's not an annual fee. And we have found that that creates buy-in. It also provides some sort, you know, resource for the library programs. But, you know, the parents feel like they have a stake in the game, you know, if they've, you know, provided 100 Kenyan shillings for the library card. And the students actually get, if you saw on the slides, it's a lanyard with the library card. The child has their picture on it, and it's a point of pride. So, you know, kids are really excited about being part of the library program. And, you know, Titus, I like, that is the best phrase of, you know, it's expensive having books, but it's more expensive not having books, meaning kids not reading. So I'm going to use that phrase if you don't mind, because it's so, you know, we have seen across all our programs, and although, you know, Esther is running all our library programs, we infuse reading in our Girl Boy Empowerment program that's designed to reduce teen pregnancy and gender-based violence. Every session of the Girl Boy Power program starts with reading a book. In some of our tech programs, we bring books in. Like, you know, we see reading is important across every single program that we do, and we keep building that in. So it's hard to be scale. I mean, I think that's the hard question is how do you scale? And, you know, like as Patrick said, you know, working with teachers to scale, working with local community business leaders who can help support our programs. You know, it's, you know, you need the funding to do it, but there's ways to keep trying to scale up.
Thank you so much. Yeah, to both organizations and to Brenda for that insightful question. I think it's just great. Just thinking through, especially the government engagement and how much they come when it comes to scaling the programs and scaling the the solutions that we're having in the communities, and how do you work alongside these governments? And of course, I loved Titus's quotes on it's expensive having books, but how expensive is it not having these books? So I think that's our takeaway for today. I'll share the interactive question that we'll have, which Faith, you can start us off. As we just discussed, I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, not yet, but it's impressive to
Yeah.
see the numerous countries that are represented through this call with the different organizations who are here. And with that comes other languages besides English. And so in our multicultural and multilingual world, how does multilingualism contribute to the strengthening literacy within our diverse context? Maybe people can share their thoughts on that.
And Faith, you are allowing them to also unmute and speak on their mics, right?
Yes, please
Yes, yes,
unmute
yes,
yourself
yes.
and share your thoughts.
Yeah, so feel free.
And actually, I think I'll stop sharing and then just put it in the chat for us to see each other as we discuss. So what does multilingualism look like in your context? I know we've talked about mother tongue books. As per the ones that Room to Read is actually publishing, but also there's a lot of multicultural and multilingualism in our programs. What role does this play when it comes to literacy? Maybe Kazungu, you can start us off, and then as others think through what does this mean in their programs.
I am the wrong person to do this because it's something very close to my heart. So I'll give you my story. I don't know who is my age mate from Kenya here. In our days, we were lucky, or should I say we were blessed, because we were part of those people who benefited from a series of books called Tujifunze Kusoma Kikwetu, which literally means let us learn our mother tongues. And so I had an opportunity to learn in Kigiriama, one of the small languages in the coast of Kenya, in my early years. And what that did for me is that by the time I was in grade 2, I was already reading Kiswahili and English books, including Kadogo at school and a few others. So having a basis, and now this is science, having a basis of learning first in your own first language, whether you call that mother tongue or you call it whatever you call it, but learning in the language that you speak at home becomes a critical foundation for you learning other languages. So I ended up learning Kiswahili, I ended up learning English. And when I speak my English, people can't actually say whether I'm from the coast. And people wonder, like, how comes you are speaking like that? I went to a government village primary school from grade 1 to grade 8. But in that process, I learned my Kigiriama. I can read it, I can write it. I learned Kiswahili, and I learned English. When I went to high school in Malindi, I had an opportunity to learn German language. So ich spreche Deutsch. I still speak some little German up to now, many years after. Okay, I came to Nairobi. If you backbite me in Kikuyu or Kikamba, I'll still pick. Why? Because my foundation was in my mother tongue. So in other words, what I'm trying to encourage here is that we should never demonize any language. We should look at all these different languages that God has given us available to us as a resource that can bridge gaps, a resource that can help you learn and grow.
Yeah, and to add a little bit onto what Kazungu shared, most of our students in Kenya, English is their third language. And so and that's their first language. I mean, they have their first languages that are spoken at home. And so you wonder, what is the measure of literacy? Does it only have to be in English, or can it be measured in the language, in their first languages and the language spoken at home? Not sure how how to go about that, but there's always that question, well, they're not illiterate because they don't speak English. They're literate in other languages. So maybe that's, is there room in the literacy world for other languages? I think that's my question, really.
Okay, I can share from my point at the Room for Other Languages. The program I work with, the lit moms, most of them are campus. Some never went to school. Others went up to around grade 4, 5. So they are not well conversant with English. So when we were launching this program, and there's the slot of a read aloud every section, I was wondering, where will I be getting all these Kikamba books to be reading every Friday? So that was one of my fears. And so what I did, I said I will be reading English and I translate it in Kikamba. And that's what we usually do. I read in English and I explain them in Kikamba, and they get to comprehend the story, they understand, and they can retell it to their kids in Kikamba. So I think we can impress Mesligo. Thank you.
I just wanted to weigh in. It's really interesting, especially if you're in Kenya. The language of instruction is English. And so you find most children in the urban areas rarely know how to speak in Kiswahili. And it's even worse, they don't even speak in their own mother tongues. And I don't want to say that my own children are any better. So I'm really proud of what Esther has said, the fact that now you actually get to help them understand. And one of the challenges that we have had, so for some of our programs in Kenya, is that when you go further in, you have to really contextualize. So if you are talking about, let's say, life skills, or you want to address social norms, the only way of addressing such or having those conversations to support the children, because when you deal with life skills and social norms, you're helping the children to improve their learning outcomes. So really reflecting so much in terms of literacy and foundational learning. So we have to constantly step back and say, who are the partners within these regions that are able to contextualize these issues in such a way that the children understand it and they're able to relate a lot more. So we always have to go an extra layer rather than having the system already set up in such a way that your first language is your mother tongue, and then now the second language is the country's language. So if it is in Kenya, you find that it is Kiswahili and then now English. So it really makes a lot of sense if we always teach, but then in the urban areas, that's not so common, but even in the rural areas, it's slowly shifting. So you go to the rural areas and you'll find that children speak Kiswahili and yet they're being taught in a different language. So I think for me, it's really saying that it is important for us to really amplify the importance of appreciating the different languages. When you go to Malawi, the language of instruction is Chichewa. I think it's called Chichewa. So everywhere you go, even in class when they're interacting, that is the language that they use. But then if you're keen, you'll be able to pick the English and Kiswahili. And as they go along, then you realize that the understanding and comprehension is way much more better than the child who grew up and then just started speaking in English, especially for the ones that go further in. So yes, I think for me, it's really appreciating the fact that yes, we need to do it and we need to do a little bit more, but also a challenge to all of us, especially those who've been exposed, being the ones who are leading the front, because as long as you've come to the cities, you're expected to speak in English, you're expected to ensure that your children speak in English, and as we go along, we're losing, or rather we're raising generations that barely know their languages. And now we're in the era of, what is it called? it's the cross-cultural, so intermarriages. So again, we're losing it. So I think it's really re-emphasizing the importance. If it is a national language, then starting with that as we go on to the next one, and just ensuring that these children at an early age, at that foundational learning, the minds already opened up to different languages. I think that will really, really enhance their chances or even their learning outcomes. Thanks.
That's so lovely. Thank you for sharing your experiences when it comes to multilingualism and what that looks like as we think about literacy. And I know here both Titus and Faith are quite passionate about that. So it was interesting, very important for us to have that discussion. And I think just for another 2 minutes, even as we come to a close, almost a close, when we think about technology and considering the two organizations have shared what technology solutions they have, what are some of the limitations and what are we doing even beyond Room to Read and Kenya Connect in terms of us just aligning with the evolving digital transformation? We've had a question on what, as we move towards non-physical books, that's online books, what are some of the challenges we foresee? What are we doing as we speak about digital transformation in our context? Again, it's quite open to anyone, so feel free to let us know what you're doing in the different places that you work in. Okay, maybe I can task Kazungu as we speak about, again, the digital transformation. Yes, what are you doing in your context and Kenya Connect as well? I know you've shared that already, but what are some of the ways that people who are working in the same space can actually support you in improving and moving towards the digital era?
So I will share a story from Tanzania. I like stories. 2 years ago, just post-COVID, our team in Tanzania did an experiment in 20 schools. I don't know whether Priska Muinde, our literacy director for Tanzania, is in, but what they did was we took our literacy cloud books and then bought projectors for these 20 schools. And instead of having the physical books, we actually tested doing read alouds and shared reading on a projector. And that was a very fascinating experiment because children really loved just that, moving away from just a big book to this projected book, and you're able to read with your teacher and enjoy all the different stories with read alouds. So that's one experiment we were trying. Definitely the limitation was, and you know, when you're piloting, if you think around these things of scale up and scaling, the key issue is to pilot with scale in mind. So when we did the maths and looked at the investment that is needed, especially in terms of the projector, the tablet to the teacher or to the school, then it becomes a lot more expensive to a government to do, yet the impact was really powerful. So that's one experiment we tried out. The other thing that we are trying out in India, which we are experimenting, is artificial intelligence for supporting teachers. So almost like an AI coach. So it's something new we are trying in India. It's still at a very experimental stage, still doing a lot of the development and all that. And we are hoping that if that works through, then possibly it could also be something we can begin to utilize. Instead of having very many coaches supporting teachers, we can integrate an artificial intelligence aspect to the teacher coaching and mentoring. So those are some of the things we are trying out. Definitely, as I said, the challenge with technology sometimes is it has potential to bridge the gap between the poor and the rich, but also it has potential to widen that gap between the haves and the have-nots.
Thank you so much, Titus. Kenya Connect.
I think I will echo what Kazungu is saying in terms of bridging the gap, because you find that sometimes technology requires connectivity to internet, connectivity to that is access also to devices. And as an organization, this is something that is really in our minds and in our heart to make sure that we support as much as we can the schools to access technology, and not just for reading purposes, but also for gaining skills, for example, in terms of coding skills and all that. So we are working with the partners, like-minded organizations to look for support, because we know as the world is progressing in terms of digital literacy and technology, there's no way that we can say that this is not going to stop. It is something that we need to look at. How can we support, especially the rural schools and those that are lacking in all these resources, to make sure that they are also at par with the urban schools and those who are having the resources. And I must admit that it's a challenge to get devices to schools, but we are trying to make sure that at least every school has a few either laptops or tablets for supporting technology, because we know it's something that is here to stay. And we are also working with teachers. And as Kazungu mentioned about AI, one of our goals now is to make sure that our teachers know the ethical use of AI and how it can support them in terms of teaching and learning. And I think that is where the world is heading to. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So what we're going to do is I'd like you to please fill in, there's a poll that I'm launching right now on your screen. So this is just an assessment, just for us to see how important or informative this session was today. So please fill that in, even as we come to a close of the session. And thank you so much, Room to Read and Kenya Connect, for sharing with us your experiences, not only in the context that you're working in, but also sharing what you see yourself getting into when it comes to technology and the programs that you're working towards. Sharing also on the chat the email addresses of Faith as well as Kazungu, just for you to reach out to them if you would like to work alongside them or support them in one way or the other in terms of your programs, or for any follow-up questions that you may have regarding their work. And also, if you have any question regarding GSF or the spotlight sessions, please feel free to write to me anytime. And thank you so much for joining. I feel like we've really come up with such a wonderful, push alongside when it comes to literacy, and just how, like, when we think about it, it's really expensive for children to read, but what is the financial implication, the emotional implication, and the societal implication of them actually not reading? And then how can we actually contextualize literacy in our context? Just looking at the current standing of where we are as organizations, as well as the students and the teachers, and how can we support them based on who they are, not what is happening globally, but more of supporting them with the needs that these children have at the moment. So thank you so much for joining. If we have any quick comments, I'll be happy to take that in, but thank you so much for joining, and wishing you all a wonderful day ahead. And evening for those who are already in their evening. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.